afternoon, everyone. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I would like to thank the governor and the lieutenant governor for their confidence in me in nominating me for this position. I certainly would like to thank the governor's chief legal counsel, Bob Ross, the executive director, and the staff of the Judicial Nominating Committee, Lauren Green Petrigno, and all of her staff. You don't get to this position of being the governor and the lieutenant governor's nominee for the Supreme Judicial Court by yourself. There are far too many people for me to name that helped to get me to this position. But I don't mean to be self-deprecating when I say I couldn't be here without them. And in broad categories, the attorneys and friends that I made in my professional career at Rackham & Sawyer and Brewster and Todd and Weld and Barron and Stadfeld, the staff and the colleagues at Suffolk University Law School and UMass Dartmouth Law School, and certainly some of the best people and judges in the world in the Boston Municipal Court Department. And that also includes the staff of the Boston Municipal Court as well as the staff of the Dorchester Division. There are two people that are not here physically with me, but they're with me at all times, that I know would be taking incredible pride to today. And that is Judge Paul McManus and the Dorchester Division Administrative Assistant Susan McTighe. Both of them were taken from us far too early, but had an incredible impact on me, and I hope that I'm making them proud. I could not and would not be here without the support of my family, my mother and my father, my two sisters, Marie and Nadia, and all of the friends that I have that have seen me to this point. And none other is more important and more integral than my wife, Michelle, and my two daughters, Olivia and Samantha. I'm really honored, Governor and Lieutenant Governor, for this opportunity. It's something that I can't really adequately express. I just don't have the words. But I tell you what I've told you throughout this process. I'm honored by it, and I will show my honor and my respect for this position by working as hard as I can to do the best that I can by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Last but not least, I also want to thank the chair of the SJC Judicial Nominating Committee, Paul Dacier, and the rest of the members of the SJC JNC. It's an incredibly difficult position that they're in, to see all of these wonderful, talented, qualified candidates, and I'm certainly happy and honored and proud to have made it through to this point. Thank you.
Judge, you talked a little about the understanding of the law based on your studying with the Jesuits at Boston College and Boston College High. And on a lighter note, I have a question I have to ask you. Do you have any history of drugs at Boston College?
I'll start with the last question first. I'm going to take the fifth on that one. There still might be a statute of limitations on that. The justice under God is the cornerstone of Jesuit principle and education. I had incredible teachers at BC High and BC that, of course, I couldn't be here without. The Jesuit tradition of being men and women for others, as it pertains to how I preside, is that there are always going to be opportunities where you can extend a hand to someone or give them an opportunity to earn a dismissal of their case or redemption. And so when you're at the community court level, at the district court level, Boston Municipal Court level, there are plenty of people that have just made mistakes that need some guidance in order to get back on their feet, stop committing crime, and be productive members of society. And that's a cornerstone principle of the Jesuit tradition. And I try to do that. I try to give people an opportunity to be successful, and I'm proud of that.
Your Honor, very few people have made the jump directly from the district court level to the SJC. I know you just talked about some of the experience or perspective you bring. What's the importance of having that sort of view on the Supreme Judicial Court here coming straight from that level?
Well, I think I'm going to go back and allude to some of the comments that the governor made. A lot of the precedential decisions that are made by the SJC have practical application every day in the community courts. Massachusetts is unique in its community court system, not only the district court department, but the Boston Municipal Court Department. So a lot of times what happens, or the decisions that come out of the SJC, I'm proximate to the application of that and the effect of that every day. So I think it's important for the diversity of jurisdiction in terms of the folks that where they practice and how they practice is important. And so I'm glad to bring that perspective to the SJC and to the other Associate Justice and the Chief Justice of the SJC.
As a boy in Dorchester, would you have ever dreamed that you're going to be on the highest court in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts?
I may have said this 1,000 times today, and since getting the governor's call at 8:30 a.m. yesterday, no. And one of the most wonderful things about kind of life is that you never know. And even though you may come from very modest beginnings, you have no idea what a little bit of hard work, treating people right, and taking advantage of a break or a door that's been opened for you. And I've been the beneficiary of that, like I mentioned when I started my opening remarks. There's no way I'm here by myself. Through my own hands and through my own work ethic, I don't get here by myself. And so when I think about all of the people over the years that have helped me, giving me aid, helping me learn, listening to me when I was down and confused and trying to figure it out. So no, but I'm so glad to be here, and I'm glad I bring all of that with me.
Your Honor, can you speak to whether you'd ever given thought about how legislation on, say, safe injection sites would have affected people in your courtroom, especially, if you're confirmed to the bench, that could be something that comes up in the future?
That's the thing about Article 30 and the separation of powers, right? That's not my role, so I'm left with what the legislature gives us to interpret and apply. But I will say, during my time presiding over the drug court, that there have been really great inroads and help that we all have in the court system to help people with substance use disorders get treatment. The governor and lieutenant governor have increased the amount of treatment beds, and that's important because a lot of the court users in the district court and the Boston Municipal Court are poor, and so they're on mass health, and so everybody in all of the different courts are fighting for the same DPH beds. And without the governor and lieutenant governor's increase in those treatment beds, we'd all would be without any solace. So those things are there, and they're able to be used and implemented to see people get success. So if something else that comes at some later point, obviously judges are going to use whatever they can to help people with their substance use disorders to get better, to not commit crime, and to reduce recidivism.
Judge, could you speak to the importance of ethnic diversity on the court? Because obviously it's been a goal of the governor and president from your point of view, why is it important to have, I guess, now 3 of 7 members of people of color on the court?
Well, I think just generally speaking, it cannot be reasonably disputed that diverse groups make better decisions. And so when you have diversity amongst genders and races and cultures, and including experience, it's going to lead to better decision making. And so I think when you look at some of the folks that the governor and lieutenant governor have nominated, it's not only, it would be very easy to just limit it to, well, there's a black person or there's a white person. It's deeper than that. It's more nuanced than that. Differing people of the same color may have very different experiences. So it can't be painted with that broad a brush. But I will say that when you look at some of the experience that the different justices had, both professionally, educationally, culturally, upbringing, that it can only lead to better decisions. And so I think one of the things that the Commonwealth should be very excited about is that they have an executive branch that puts their money where their mouth is when it comes to that.
Your Honor, you said there are several people you need to thank or want to thank. How did your parents play a role in this long term, their value of education, and how did they react when you told them the news?
Well, it was great. Unfortunately, but fortunately, my father had a heart attack about a month ago, and so he's in a rehab hospital right now, and so I was able to communicate through his treatment professionals about today and get him a couple of the press releases that came out today so that he could see it. My parents, it's really difficult for me to put into words what they mean to me and how they have informed my life and my success. They are wonderful people. They are the best people that I've ever met. I joked with the governor and lieutenant governor that my mom, as modest an income as she's always made, and for my sisters and I who have already gone on to be self-sufficient, there was always the folded up 20 that would always be slid into our hands with this double secret handshake on the way out the door. And that's just the kind of people that they are. Like most parents that I think have children and see that their lives are measured by what they do and what they achieve. It means everything to them. And when I told my mom about today's date, much like 7 years ago, she was filled with incredible pride. And the last part I'll just mention is, it's also important to acknowledge my Haitian heritage. And as Haitian immigrants, through all of the things that the Haitian people have been through with natural disasters and some of the other challenges with some of the governmental systems over the years, it's incredibly important for them to see that they came with the hope of giving us a better life. And I think through some measure of our achievement, they feel that they have.
Do you mind if I ask, was there ever a time that your family or extended family had fear of the government? And if so, how did you overcome that given the differences between here and Haiti in the 1980s and 70s?
Well, I think that's a direct reason why my father left. And so when my father was a lot younger, he went to work for the United Nations UNESCO program where he was assigned to teach in Zaire in the Congo. And part of that was the fear of being students and having big mouths. That was pretty much frowned upon by the Duvalier regime. And so my father ended up in Zaire, where my oldest sister was already born in Haiti. My mother and my second sister, Nadia, was born in Zaire. And after I was born in Manhattan, we lived in the Congo for 4 years while he finished his teaching commitment. And it was only after that we moved here. So it's indelible to my upbringing, because on the flip side of that was when we got here is the respect and the love for the Constitution and the law and all of the freedoms that we have here in the United States that they were not afforded in Haiti that led to us coming here. So I have a deep respect for the law and the application of the law, and I'm very glad to be in this position to continue to do it.